Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Enter the Ether, the podcast all about the upcoming third-person MOBA Ethereal Clash of Souls. I'm your host, the one and only Mighty Mangoose. That guy's Jelly.
That's me. That's it. That was the great. Oh my god.
Oh, you thought I was going to go high, and I went low.
Oh
I
my
do
god.
it to you
You
every
like
time.
vastly, changed my expectations. You circumvented my expectations. Is that what they tell us in the movie and video game industry?
Yeah. So, how was your week, brother?
Dude, it's been good.
Yeah.
Lots
Well,
of
we've
news
got a
on
lot of
Ethereal though.
news. Oh yeah. So that's going to be the main focus today. They released one of their blog posts, one of their fun facts, and it was all about their map. We got finally they told us they were updating the map. We finally got to see some images of the map, and we're going to go through today, go through individually, taking a look at these images and just talking about them and how they're going to affect gameplay, how we see them affecting gameplay. Um, Before we get into that though, so they changed their plan. Instead of having each lane stacked directly on top of each other, there's still going to be three separate lanes. However, they're going to be kind of side by side, but also up above each other. So you'll have the middle lane, and then there'll be a lane over here. Well, let me bring my hands up, a lane over here, and then like a lane up here. So there's still a lot of verticality to the map, but it's not what they had originally planned. They did this because they were afraid that it just wouldn't run well unless you had like a super high end graphics card. Uh, I don't know. I've already had a few people message me saying like, "Hey, the map's not going to be like that was the big draw for Ethereal was the map." So I don't know. It's yet to be seen how this is going to affect how everybody views it. I wasn't really that affected by it personally. I still see it does remove some of the kind of plays and stuff that I kind of thought that would be possible with Ethereal. However, it's still there's a lot in effect there. Jelly, what's your thoughts, man?
So I probably the opposite camp from you. I'm not gonna say that I'm like furiated um by this change, but I was definitely hurt, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. Sounds a weird thing to say about a video game that
Oh,
hasn't come out yet,
oh,
uh but like it was one of those things that I was definitely in the camp of like super excited about the straight vertical tiered map, and seeing it wasn't going to be that way kind of was like, oh, like what else isn't going to be, like it kind of made me do that double take a little bit.
yeah,
And that's not to say that the map doesn't look great and I'm excited to play on this map, but it was just that like brief moment of like, wait a second, what's actually happening here? Um so yeah, I see all the reactions from the community being valid in this scenario.
yeah. Uh, a few things that like I was thinking we had talked about this on the show before. Abilities that would pierce layers of the map, how cool that would be. That's just not going to be a thing. That's you definitely won't have that happening. However, they did talk about fall damage, and if you get to the edge of the map and you fall off, you're dead. Um, so cliffing people will be a thing, which I absolutely love. That's something you normally see in like first person shooters. You don't see it in MOBAs too much. It is a little bit in King's Hunt, and that really did affect the way you played King's Hunt. I wasn't good enough to cliff anybody in that game, but there were areas of the map where you could tell people were playing differently because they did not want to have their backs to that crevice or the fire pit or whatever. 'Cause they didn't want to get knocked off into it. So I'm sure that there's going to be abilities in Ethereal that will be able to knock people back, and those abilities will be very effective if you can catch somebody on the edge.
Absolutely. And if somebody, like for instance, we know you're going to be able to jump from one lane to another, and as long as you're not in combat, you won't take fall damage. But if I can, from a distance, see somebody jumping, shoot them, and that triggers their in combat state, and then they
Mhm.
fall to their death, even though they thought they were safe, I think it adds another layer of things that are going to be interesting to try out in the game.
Yeah, you're really going to have to watch yourself. And that's the thing too. Like if you're not in combat, yeah, you don't take fall damage. But the other thing it removes, this is something I think that would be very hard to balance, is if you're able to just kind of drop through one level to another, that would make rotations from top to bottom much faster than from bottom to top, I would think. With
Absolutely.
this, it's just going to be, you know, rotating from one lane to another is going to take about the same amount of time. And they did mention that there will still be teleporters and cannons. I guess you could load yourself into a cannon and launch yourself up to a to another level, which is pretty cool. But I think it'd be a lot easier for them to balance and have the rotations times be similar to other MOBAs and what people are used to. It's also going to make it much easier to do a mini map now. So mini map, just that problem's gone.
Yep. You won't have to toggle between lanes trying to figure out how it's gonna work.
Hmm.
Um, so that definitely a probably a good change. I mean, for performance reasons, for mini-map reasons, for balance reasons, it makes sense that they made this change. It was just a shock to a lot of people, I think, finding out that the
Uh,
map wasn't this cake layers like you've said in the past.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I said that, what was that, last week or was it 2 weeks ago, where I said, like, the only, like deal breaker is if they change the map, the way they
I
structure their map.
think it was 2 weeks ago,
And
but
then they
yeah.
change. I wonder if they heard me say that, we're like, "Ooh."
Yeah, Mangoose,
Well,
hey.
about that.
Uh,
But it's not such a huge change, like, they didn't just go straight back to a normal MOBA map. It's
mhm,
still very dynamic. It takes a lot of, advantage of verticality and how their myths are set up, because the Sky Slayers can still just move from one lane to another, at will without having to take any teleporters or cannons or risk jumping off of anything. So pretty
absolutely.
cool
And
stuff there.
I'm excited to see how everything works and interacts with each other on this map now. We've always kind of thought about the class abilities in terms of the first map that we saw 2 years ago.
Yes.
And now that this map is here and we kind of have an idea of what it looks like, we can change our thoughts about it, but also imagine the different plays you can make accordingly. But so before we get into the images, I do want to mention again the podcast, the actual podcast.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're Spotify, Apple, Pandora now. I got the notification for Stitcher, all a whole bunch of places that will have links in the description. But the podcast episodes will go live midnight the day before the actual video version of this of Enter the Ether comes out. So if you can't wait to watch the video version, it will be up on all the podcast places at midnight the night before. But we still recommend you come here so you can see the visuals that we're talking about and comment to us. We do live premieres. So comment to us what you're thinking, what our thoughts are, ask any questions, all of that good stuff.
And yeah, and as you saw last week, we will every once in a while have exclusive stuff that, if you want to get ahead of the curve and hear that before anybody else, then definitely subscribe to the podcast. That's our ultimate end goal. We want most of the people to enjoy this on the podcast. I don't want this to just be in my channel. I want this to be a man goose and a man jelly
A jelly goose?
jelly goose cooperative effort here.
Sounds like some kind of like future candy. Oh, did you get your jelly goose for Halloween this year?
That house only has man goose or man jelly.
Anyway,
I prefer the jelly goose.
so the map looks incredible.
It does. Uh, it looks like they'll hopefully have some foliage sliders, because I don't even my computer can handle that foliage.
Yeah,
There's a lot
absolutely.
going on. It is
Um,
beautiful.
this first image that we have up, I think shows a lot, right? We've got the path
Mhm,
through cutting through the rocks. You can see there are torches on the other side. I'm not sure if that's a lane over there or if that's further into the jungle because we don't know which side we're on for this image.
mhm.
But the thing that I think is really interesting to me is if you look in the top left of the image, you can see a torch through the trees, which implies that you can get up into that area. At least to me, that's what I see here is that that's
Yeah,
somewhere you can actually stand as a myth or as a player and look down into this opening. So there's not only verticality of the lanes themselves, but verticality in each lane as well.
right.
So I mean, I'm thinking maybe you can walk up that log or jump on that log and go somewhere else or whatever it may be. But this just looks incredible to me. What are
Yeah,
your
and so
thoughts?
this log is like leaning over like this rock wall, and you have this straight rock wall that I think Reapers would be able to navigate while others couldn't. Sky Slayers, of course, can navigate wherever the hell they want to. They can fly. But Reapers would be able to climb up that wall. The tree that's over top of the path, I would think Berserkers might be able to break that and completely block that path off or drop it
Ooh.
on top of somebody. And also, there's so much dynamics going on with the way their myths are set up, and their different classes. So you got that tree light right there. That might be a great place to take cover from a Sky Slayer that's up above you, pinging you. You can just take cover under the tree until because their Sky Slayers will have some sort of like stamina type thing where they can't fly forever. So you just take cover under that tree and wait for them to run out of that stamina and then take them out. But yeah, just this one image, I can see so many ways to take advantage of their map with the class passives that they have set up for their myths.
And I'm really curious, like you said with the berserkers, I didn't even think about like breaking the tree and blocking both the path up top and down below by putting the log in the pathway. But
Mhm.
even just if they could just block this pathway, that cuts off a huge section of that they have to go around somewhere else, takes extra time, or they have to use their class ability if they're a Reaper or a Sky Slayer trying to get over that obstacle to get where they're trying to go. It just opens there's so many layers of what could happen in this small area that's what excites me most, I think, going into looking at all these images and all of that.
100%, 100%. I think I think this image is probably the most interesting one to me because of all that I can
Mhm.
see going on. You ready to move
Absolutely.
over to the second one?
All right, the river.
So this image is just a pretty standard image of a river. You got trees on either side. You got some torches again. Um, Jelly, what are your thoughts on this particular image?
The river looks really wide to me. I don't know
Mhm.
if that's like there's going to be depth to it on top of it that if I'm in the center or I move slower while I'm going through or what the deal is or if it's just uncrossable to begin with that I have to use some kind of land path over it. It looks like to me we're on some kind of bridge looking out in one direction. So I would imagine we're in the middle of the mid lane or the I don't even the bottom lane. I don't know. We have to
Void
figure out
lane
what
is
we're
what they're
calling these
calling it.
lanes.
They're calling it void lane, which doesn't make much sense to me, but they're calling
I
it
think
void, fire, and ice lane.
yeah, that applies to the neutral objective that's in that lane. So Atropos is void, so he's the void lane. The fire wyvern and the ice wyvern are the fire and ice lanes. I wish the lanes resembled that description more.
Mhm.
But I think at the end of the day, the community is going to make a name for them no matter what.
Yeah.
And that it'll just get figured out once we actually are able to start playing the game. But yeah, this to me looks like your generic river running through the middle of the map, leading toward something. We can't quite tell and make out what's in the background, but you can see one of the other lanes, the base of the lane, it looks like, hovering in the distance.
Yeah. Because there's skyline in between what looks like a mountain, really, but it's not a mountain. It's the bottom of another lane.
Yeah,
They did say that the river only cuts through void lane, right?
I believe
Didn't they say
so.
that in the blog post?
I don't remember if it's in the blog post, but I know looking at the image, it looks like it only cuts through the void lane.
Yeah. Pretty sure that's the thing.
Any
All
specific thoughts on
right.
this image, Mangoose?
This third image, again, it's kind of a more of a rushing sloped view of the river, and there's lots of trees on either side this time. This one I think just looks prettier than anything else. Like it looks very pretty, but I can't really deduce anything else from that. What do you think, Jelly? What did you notice about this?
It looks like this might be the continuation image of the last one.
Hmm.
That this is that area we couldn't quite make out. That the river flows downward a little more, opens up into multiple paths, looking like they're going into the jungle. But yeah, other than that, nothing crazy that I can see here. This looks like it could be
And
like a background. Like I would set this as my computer background.
yeah, it's incredibly well done and well and detailed. All right, and then this next, oh shoot, this next image, personally, I think that this is the Atropos pit.
I completely agree
What
with
are your
you.
thoughts? So to
Um,
describe the image for those who are listening, it looks like a cavern, except there's this sort of purple glowing ring inside of what looks like a split tree trunk or something. I don't know, with a couple of torches lit next to it. So, and it looks like the area where you could see Atropos in the video that they released last week, where they showed the jungle minions.
And we noticed that that area is kind of dark in the jungle minions video that they released.
Hmm.
So maybe this is that it's dark once he breaks out of this tree trunk thing and puts out the lights or something like that. I'm really curious to see where that transition happens, I guess.
It definitely looks like some sort of objective. It doesn't look like it would be part of the normal lane.
I completely agree. The other thing I heard people talking about for this is it might be one of the teleporters to another
Oh
lane.
yeah,
I don't think so. It's got that purple color like we saw with Atropos, but it's entirely possible that this is what the teleporters will look like, and this is just they gave us one image of that. But it looks like we're gonna cave. Yeah, I agree for the most part that this is probably the Atropos cave.
yeah, cool stuff all around. So the next image, we have another picture of the river, and this time that to me looks like a teleporter. You've got a in the middle of the river is a bit of an island, and there are three rings floating above this sort of destroyed rune looking island, and the rings are consecutively smaller as they go up. Jelly, what was your thoughts on this?
So I originally thinking about it was thinking this was one of the cannons.
Okay,
It's
cannon teleporter, yeah, about
it's
same
in mid
same
lane.
function.
It's the opposite end. So if you're on, or sorry, it's in void lane. It's gonna take a while to get used to that. It's in the void lane. There, if you follow the river one direction, you get to the Atropos cave. If you follow it the other direction, you get this Stargate structure. Um, and I originally thought it was a cannon. I've heard people say it was a teleporter. The thing is, on one of the later images, you get like a wide shot of the three lanes. There's no other structures that look like this.
Mm,
And if you read through the fun fact, it says teleporters and cannons, multiple.
yeah,
And so you'd think that if this is what that was, there would be more of them scattered around the map. This also to me feels like a large structure where I don't think that those cannons and teleporters are going to be quite this like present on the map. But I have, other than that, have zero idea what this could be for.
yeah, I don't know.
There's a structure behind it that is like this gold spike coming out of the ground. It looks like so it could be indicating some kind of gold buff or something like that. We also don't know where the purple or green buffs that they described last week are going to come in. So it could be that this is some kind of alternating extra buff camp that has the purple and green buff spawn there as well.
I don't know. This one's quite confusing. Maybe it's a maybe it's a ring toss for Atropos. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe it's a Stargate. It does look Stargate-ish.
I believe it. Oh,
I
we
don't
just
know.
need the whoosh to
My
come out of
money,
it when it boots up and we're
I
good to
mean,
go.
you changed my mind a little bit, but my money is that it is a teleporter. I'm gonna say it's a teleporter. That's what my money's on. All right, this next one is probably the most important image out of all of these, and it shows the entirety of the map from above. So,
Which looks crazy.
yeah. So I mean, a lot. I think a lot of people that were turned off by hearing that the lanes no longer float directly on top of each other. I think once they see this, they'll be like, "Oh, okay, okay. Well, I can dig this." I mean, this is what when I saw this, I was like, "Oh, well, I'm completely on board for this. This looks awesome."
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if you're listening, you've got I don't know. It's like I said, it's an aerial view of the entire map, and you can see how the lanes float so much higher. Like the lane you can see closest to you, of course, it is bigger because it's closer to you. But it's so much higher than the bottom lane map, and then it's even much higher than the other side lane map, which is kind of like middle lane because it's in the middle of these two.
Yeah.
That
So
I mean, we really are gonna have to use this whole the void fire ice lane, because you can't say top lane because
And it's gonna be dependent on
it would be one
perspective
of
at
the
the same
side
time.
lanes. Yeah.
But yeah, so closest to us, we have Ice Lane because we can see the Ice Wyvern's cave or whatever it's going to be called, and we can see kind of generic like outlines of pathing on that side. Um, and the opposite to that, slightly lower down, is the Fire Lane. And again, we can see the pathing through it, and then at the very bottom we have the Void Lane, which just looks massive. And on either end, it looks like those are might be the bases or what takes you to the bases or what, however that's going to work. But you can make out like there's a lot of detail on this image alone that you can pick out little things like the Atropos cave opposite the weird Stargate thing, or where the Wyverns are going to be. The thing that I think I'm most intrigued by is that the Wyvern cave has a hole in the top of it. That it looks like it's an opening for Sky Slayers or Reapers to potentially climb up there or fly up there and drop in from above on a team that's taking the Ice Wyvern and
Oh, that'd be awesome.
try and surprise them and steal it or whatever it's going to be. And that by itself makes me so interested to play Sky Slayers and Reapers that I'm like, if I can just like surprise and show up, that would be incredible.
Yeah, maybe it's so high though that if you're a Reaper and you're coming in and somebody notices you and gets a shot off on you, you just
Oh,
die to fall damage.
oh no. Oh man. The potential is just insane. And I think so
So
they
I see
talked.
what you're saying now, that that structure is on the left side of the void lane as we're looking at it here.
Oh, the
The
Stargate thing?
structure,
Yeah.
yeah, the Stargate structure. It does
And
make it look a lot more prolific than just a teleporter.
there's no structures like it anywhere else on the map that I can see.
Yeah.
Um they talked about in the extra life stream, and I don't know that this is still accurate or not, so take it with a grain of salt, but that wards, when you place a ward, the ward will cover a cylinder straight up into the air. Knowing that the lanes are no longer vertically stacked, it's not so broken that I can place one on the bottommost lane and get vision of the entire way up.
Mhm.
But maybe if I place a ward in the center of the Wyvern Cave, the Ice Wyvern Cave, if the Sky Slayer Reaper tries to come in from above, I might be able to see them on the mini map.
Yeah.
Which I think there's a lot of potential for counterplay or surprises and things like that. That'll be really cool to try out and play with once we get our hands on the game.
Yeah, changing the map up this, like, not having the vertically tiers is still, there's still a lot to offer and a lot of weird stuff that we can already come up with without even playing the game. Just imagine once people get their hands on this map and start exploiting various parts of the map, what people are going to think of to do.
Yeah, I can't wait. I already have. I'm not going to share them here because I'm gonna try them first. I already have some ideas of things I want to try on this map
Yeah.
that are like really like cheeky plays, but if they work, they'll be super crazy. I'm already sitting there like thinking about it. Like, okay, if I do this, if I jump off right here, I might be able to jump down and land there. Yeah, no, I'm already theory crafting all the way.
I'm really not looking forward to taking a cannon somewhere and then there's 3 people just waiting for me. I know that's going to happen to me.
The interesting thing they said with the cannons is the cannons will take you to set locations.
Right.
So the cannon will always launch you. Cannon A will always launch you to point A, which I think is a great way to do it, and it makes rotations very clear that I need to go to this cannon to get to this location as fast as possible.
Right. But
With
also,
this,
people know where you're gonna be landing if they think somebody's gonna rotate, and they can be lying in
absolutely.
wait for you.
With this map in mind, I imagine that we're going to see archmages on Void Lane as the solo lane. Just because they
Yes.
have their teleportation sigils, I feel like them being able to set those up to give all the lanes at least a passing way through mid lane. That if, let's say, they can only set up 2 sigils, they set up one to going to each lane from the Void Lane, not mid lane. And that way, the person on the ice lane can take the portal, walk across, and then take the portal up to fire lane instead of having to go backwards through their own teleporter to another teleporter or however it's going to work. We have no
Yeah,
idea.
That's assuming that other people can take the Archmage's sigil.
They did say in the Extra Life stream that everyone can take the portals.
Oh, really? They take the Archmage sigil. Nice.
Again, that
Nice.
was, I mean, several months ago now, so it may have changed, but I did
Yeah.
ask that question because I was curious about that as well.
All right. So the final image is pretty much just a pathway with some trees, a little bit of a mountain. It just really shows how much verticality they put into each lane. There's all kinds of slopes and trees, and um it seems like there's going to be a lot more stuff to take advantage of than there ever was in Paragon, at least.
Absolutely.
So,
And it looks like learning the map is going to be very helpful. The people that
oh
learn
yeah.
the paths and which takes you where are going to definitely have a clear advantage and not get lost in the map. And yeah, you can look up at the mini map, which is definitely helpful and needed in order to help track your paths as a new player. But if you can memorize that this leads me to Void Lane and this leads me to the cannon to go to Fire Lane, like that'll be a very quick reflex that you can use to get your rotations down quicker. And that, I think that's part of what excites me most, is running around and learning all the different paths and
Mhm.
how to get places.
Oh, it looks just absolutely beautiful. Um, Very sunny, a lot sunnier than I expected it was going to look.
Agreed.
I
They
don't know what I expected.
toward that end though, I was going through the footage for Extra Life for the Q&A section, and I haven't put that up yet, and I'm working on it. I apologize. But one of the questions that I asked that I didn't get a straight no to was a day or night cycle in Ethereal. So it's possible, Mangoose, that this is just the day cycle and that it will eventually turn to a darker thing, which explains the torches on the map as well.
Torches, yeah. Hey, you could be right. You could be right.
And granted, I could be reading, this is tinfoil hat level 5,000, because it could just be that they put torches there for design and I'm reading into an answer that just because it wasn't a no, but that's what I do. So you know
I just
what?
kind of saw the torches as a way of denoting what's a pathway. But yeah, you could be right. It could be for like a day night. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me at all with Ethereal the way they do things.
Hmm. So
All
it'll be
right.
really interesting to see where they go with that.
So yeah, it kind of sucks that they're not doing the lanes right on top of each other. But I mean, if you look at this one image, does it suck that bad, really? Because I mean, that's pretty amazing, and that's extremely different from anything we've ever experienced with a MOBA. And there's still a lot of ways that you could take advantage. Um, I that's the my main takeaway from this is there's so much verticality in lane to take advantage of now. Um, Even the second map that we saw had a lot of verticality, but this does too, and it's that that's what's really gonna affect the gameplay the most, not so much the lanes being stacked on top of each other, but what the verticality in lane is like and how each myth can manipulate that verticality to their advantage or, respond to other myths that would be able to, like, maybe an Archmage isn't able to climb a wall, but they know not to get near a wall that a Reaper can come up, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, just knowing
They did mention in
who
their
can and
blog
can't take
post
advantage of that stuff. Go ahead.
they did mention in their blog post that there are going to be some one-way paths that only certain myths can get the second path in and out of,
Oh, really?
which to me is crazy. If you take a wrong turn as a new player and you end up into this one way and then the Reaper just jumps down on top of you, hey bud, like how's it going? You entered the
Yeah.
wrong neighborhood here, right? That's an insane thing to me that good players can capitalize on, but the newer players may struggle with at the same time of like, oh, clearly this isn't the right way, and now they're blocked in because a berserker locked them in there.
I think we're gonna see a lot of plays like that where berserkers lock people in, or somebody's, like, at 1 health with the entire other enemy team chasing them, and then they drop a log behind them and get away safely. It's
Dude,
gonna
that's my thought with the berserkers is a getaway mechanic. Assuming it's
yeah.
fast enough and it's able to be quickly done. I'm thinking like
Yeah, as long as you're
Rampage
not out there with
Builder.
an axe, like, ugh.
It'd be like, Talos, hey, we need you over here. You just
Yeah.
chop this down for me.
I'm a knight, not a berserker. Sorry. Okay. Oh, I think that about does it for this map discussion. I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. Um, Jelly, do you have anything you wanted to add?
I think that's everything that I have for now. I'm quickly like scrolling through the images to make sure that I didn't miss anything. But yeah, I mean, it looks incredible. If I guess the biggest thing is that somebody pointed out in the Discord is if this is what their first map looks like, what's the potential for future maps if they have any?
Mhm. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah.
If they end up doing an arena mode, what's the potential for that to look like? Like this, if this is your trial run, basically, I can't wait to see what they do further on that.
Wise words. Wise words. So, Jelly, you got anything to plug this week?
A whole slew of YouTube videos that will actually
Yeah.
come out this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Are we looking
recorded
forward
them
to
all
it?
today. They're just a matter of editing and posting. So about the
Nice.
fun facts, about the Q&A, about my thoughts about the map things, more kind of going more in depth on each image than we really have time for here. But lots of videos.
Right on, man. I'm looking forward to watching those. I can't really do too many videos right now myself, but yeah, cool. Right on, dude. I especially want to see that Q&A video you did because I really don't remember what all was said during
it
that.
it took a while to go through and make sure I have the answers right and all that stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine. Uh, this week I'll plug. I did my blue Kalia drink on TikTok. Drink inspired by Kalia. So you can check that out if you want to. It's in the links and shares in the Ethereal Discord. But I think that is about all I have to plug.
So next week,
And
if we're super intoxicated for Enter the Ether, you know why.
yeah, this is like my third one. It's not it was probably a little slow tonight, a little slow. They're they sneak up on you. They're a little sweet and fruity, and then you don't realize how much gin you're drinking. So good times all around. All right, guys. I hope nobody was put off too much by the changes in the map. I hope, if anything, you were inspired by that overhead image because that certainly rearranged how I was thinking about Ethereal. So even if they do change one of their core concepts or something, we can still see that it's still a very ambitious and just next level MOBA. And then I hope you all come to enjoy with us. So I hope you all join us as we all enter the ether.
I almost did your sign off, but I was like, wait a second. I have my own thing that I do.
Mango.